OCD Family Community. It's hard to believe that summer is wrapping up, which means our time here at the water cooler is too. Our return to regularly scheduled programming and the kickoff of season 3 will be on August 30th. Woot woot! And I can't wait to share more amazing guests, research, funny stories, and more. But first, let's take another question from you, fam. Dear Nicole, my daughter is doing I-CBT therapy and she really likes it. I watch my grandchildren during her sessions, and we usually chat about it before I head home. But I'm confused about what she calls the feared self. You're one of the only podcasts I hear even talk about I-CBT, and I was wondering if you could help me understand what the feared self is exactly. Thanks for everything. I wish I knew she was battling OCD when she was younger. I feel badly, but the least I can do is learn now. Sincerely, your sister from another mister. First off, thank you for this amazing question. It's incredible that you're watching the grandbabes and even more, diving in and learning more about OCD now. But mama, you couldn't know what you didn't know. And the same goes for your daughter. So give yourselves grace because OCD is sneaky and it's still pretty misunderstood. So well done. Also, thanks for that great question about the feared possible self. I do have some ideas that I think might help explain the concept. But first, for our new fam, let's get everyone up to speed. The feared self, or FPS, is a concept we learn about in Inference-Based CBT, otherwise known as I-CBT. And this particular character, acted, directed, and produced by OCD, is who your loved one is afraid they might become if they don't avoid triggers or if they didn't engage in their compulsions. And I use the term character quite intentionally, fam, because the FPS is cast as our villainous theme. Now, fun fact, back in the day, I double majored in psychology and theater studies. And in my theater training, we learned about the importance of production themes. It was that thing that whether you were an actor or a stagehand, the lighting designer, an audio tech, or with costumes or props, we all needed to be on the same page regarding our story's central theme. This was the central message that would further guide creative choices to help shape how the audience should interpret the narrative. So 2 important takeaways from this. Number 1, the FPS is this theme, this threat of who the OCD warrior could become. And 2, it's the story. And even amazing productions that are based on true stories are still just that. They're stories. They are shows that have to be constructed. So if I'm watching Hamilton on Broadway, even though we know Alexander Hamilton was a real dude, I'm watching a show that had to be constructed, had to be written, had to be cast, had to be rehearsed, had to be designed, all the things. And if I were to take a stab at the theme of Hamilton, I would say that it's a story that explores how ambition, the immigrant experience in early America, and the impact of particular events mixed with relentless drive and self-determination created a lasting legacy. But at the end of the day, it's also a show. It's a good show, but it's a show. And while Lin-Manuel Miranda didn't throw away his shot, it was a constructed narrative, even though at its core it was based on facts, hearsay of the different historians that tell the tales, possibility, and I would like to believe maybe even a little rapping. But still, it's a constructed narrative. So in OCD, the feared possible self is the theme that drives the obsessional story. It's that central message, again, that guides the creative choices of why OCD shows up where and when it does in the first place. And much like in any story, it shapes how we interpret the narrative. Honestly, it was one of the really fascinating yet really important distinctions that I found compelling when first learning I-CBT. Because my brain, up until that point, was really focused on the behavioral learning side of OCD, and that's not wrong. But one thing that always perplexed me was if we're having these random intrusive thoughts, and OCD targets what I value most, which is unique to each person living with OCD, then how can it both be random and then also target all my values so accurately? That part never made sense. But the reason why OCD triggers me or our writer's daughter or your loved one's OCD in the way it does is because we all have our own unique, constructed stories with our own feared possible selves. It's that haunting possibility that I might become the type of person who could neglect something or do something harmful. What if I could be the kind of person that is untrustworthy or irresponsible? And once we know the theme, It's really fascinating and kind of cool how we can plug it back in to all the mayhem, all the noise OCD creates, and actually see the link of how this story, as immersive and scary and horrific as it's been, is really just a story. And this feared possible self, as dominant and central of a villain as it's been, is also just that part of an imagined story. I mean, it's pretty powerful. So, sister of another mister, hopefully this helps. And hey, I named a few examples of feared possible selves a moment ago, but if you jump on over to OCDFamilyPodcast.com and check out this episode's blog, or if you're watching with us on YouTube, Catherine Goldhouse gave me permission to share her amazing graphic of feared possible selves. So check it out, because not only did she share it in a really fun rainbow display, but she also categorized examples in relationship to ourselves as well as in relationship to others. And I just find that particularly helpful. But I also know therapists sometimes get stuck thinking of different possible themes. So a really big thanks and a shout out to Catherine Goldhouse Psychotherapy for sharing the love. You can also follow Catherine on Instagram at I-CBT Therapist. She does a lot of great explanations and sharing, so give her a follow for more amazing content. All right, fam. Next week will be our last water cooler chat of season 2. And our last episode of season 2, come to think of it. Thanks again to our sister of another mister. And fam, I'll see you next week.